Thursday Night Showdown time. Your best DFS and Sportsbook plays for 49ers, Titans. So who are you putting in the captain spot, Pearce?
It's going to be George Kittle. The rule is pretty similar to always. You either try to find a value guy that's going to really go off, or you play the best player. And on this slate, I don't think there's any question that George Kittle is the best player. Maybe you can make an argument for Deebo Samuel that he has just as much upside, but Kittle has a much higher floor. He's going to get much more volume, and with volume, you get more chances at touchdowns. I get being contrarian with Deebo Samuel, but they're basically the same price. I'll take the safety in Kittle and the upside as well.
All right, Reid, where are you going for your captain spot?
Yeah, I think you got to go with Kittle. I'm sure Jeff's going to give us a diatribe on how Deebo has much higher upside, but he's only caught one pass in the last 2 months. I know that's hyperbole for the wrong way, but it's George Kittle. Like, he's amazing. And even in a mediocre Sunday, he caught all 6 of his targets for 93 yards. He gets Jayon Brown, who gives up 88% completion percentage as a linebacker, and he's athletic. He's an athletic linebacker, and the Tennessee Titans play opposing tight ends well, but it's got to be Kittle. The upside is just too far and immense. And I think his rushing upside for Deebo Samuel kind of caps his upside because you're just not catching any balls.
All right, Geoff, what do we think? Are you putting in the captain spot? Are you going to make a case for Deebo Samuel here?
I mean, I just can't believe these guys are saying that George Kittle's the best player in this game when Ryan Tannehill is available on the other side of the ball. I do actually like Ryan Tannehill as a captain's play here, but it comes down to, it's not that I think Ryan Tannehill is the best player in this game. It just comes down to how I think this game is going to go. San Francisco has so many weapons. And yes, George Kittle could get 10 plus targets here again and go off. But, Deebo Samuel could run the ball in twice, get 5 targets, and Kittle could end up with 5 for 60. I think on the other side of the ball is where the offense is going to be concentrated. We know Ryan Tannehill takes those red zone rushes. He's probably going to have A.J. Brown back to work with against a very weak San Francisco secondary. I think Ryan Tannehill rebounds here a little bit, and I really do feel like this is a good spot for him to put up 20 plus points. And again, there's if the scoring gets spread on the other side, Tannehill could easily end up as the highest fantasy producer if he rushes one in or if he just has a better passing day. So I like going with him, and you also save a ton of money by putting him in your captain spot.
Well, speaking of saving a ton of money, what's your favorite value play for the showdown contest, Reid?
It's Dontrell Hilliard. This is another Ulrich favorite. Another Tennessee running back that we're trying to bring back from yesteryear, but $2,800. He's the pass catching back for Tennessee, kind of going off of and dovetailing off of what Geoff was alluding to, how the game's going to go. If San Francisco's up in this game, then you got to figure that this guy who's got 9 attempts and 6 targets last week, especially if A.J. Brown is out, I think Dontrell Hilliard does present a lot of value. I'll leave the 3rd or 4th tight end for Pearce Dietrich to talk about.
All right, Geoff, where are you going for your value play?
I mean, same idea. I'm just going to go cheaper than Reid. I'm going to go with Jeremy McNichols. I mean, I definitely think that if you're playing the Tennessee side of this game, you can roster like both running backs. And then by both, I mean like Donta Foreman and one of McNichols or Hilliard. I mean, these guys are getting rotated in. Foreman is taking the bulk of the carry. So, I mean, like, he definitely has the most solid upside. And if you are making Tennessee lineups here, I would suggest getting Foreman in, because if you're predicting Tennessee to win this game, or if you're creating your roster based on that formula, he's probably going to have a chance to like really push for 60% of the workload. But McNichols getting worked in the red zone as well. It's a good pass catching back, and he's cheap, right? So I think you'll see 2 of these running backs be very viable for Tennessee. And again, I obviously like the Tennessee side here. I think their offense is going to be a little bit better than people think. And Jeremy McNichols at 2,200, definitely a viable target here for daily fantasy right now.
All right, Pearce, what do we think?
I'm not going to save you a lot, actually. I'm going to go with Jeff Wilson, but make sure that Eli Mitchell is officially out. Last I checked, he was out of this game, but you never know with the NFL these days. So if Eli Mitchell is out, then Jeff Wilson got 21 carries, over 100 yards last week. I know he's a backup, and maybe you don't want to play him, but Eli Mitchell's a backup as well. He wasn't the starting running back at the beginning of the season. San Francisco makes running backs good. It's in their DNA. We saw Wilson run pretty well last week. If you're going to get 21 carries out of any running back today, then you have to roster that guy. If you're going to get 21 again out of Wilson, I think you have to put him on your roster.
All right, Geoff, let's move to the sportsbook side of things. What is your favorite player prop available for this one?
Yeah, so going back basically all the way to the start of Jimmy Garoppolo's career, he's never gone more than 2 games without an interception. And he's coming into this game, 2 games, he hasn't thrown an interception. You're just getting good odds here. You're getting plus 115 for Jimmy Garoppolo to throw an interception against a Tennessee defense who again, that they've really improved. Their pass rush has improved too. And when quarterbacks are under pressure, tends to be when they make mistakes. They've got 13 interceptions on the year. So basically averaging right around 1 per game. I think Garoppolo at plus money here to throw an INT in this game is a very, very good prop to attack for tonight.
All right, Pearce, which prop are you looking at?
George Kittle over 68.5 yards receiving. This just seems a little too low to me. I know it's not the greatest matchup in the world, but what are you going to do? He's averaged 141 yards receiving over his last 3 games. This is about half of that. I think you can get there. If San Francisco is projected to score 24 points, that means they're going to move the ball. Who's going to move the ball? Well, it's more than likely going to be George Kittle. He's been 38% of their offense over the last 3 games. So if you do the math, let's say he's 30% of the offense and they get 226 total yards, which isn't a lot. That's over 69 yards. If they get 300 yards and he has 30%, which again is on the conservative end, that's 100 yards receiving. I think the 68.5 is just way too low for George Kittle.
Reid, what do we think?
Yeah, I didn't know the Pythagorean theorem was going to come out for Pearce and do all the arithmetic on the Christmas Eve, but here we are. I'm going Jimmy G over 3.5 rush yards, minus 110. I think it's a good number too. Like, he hasn't done this a lot. He's like 1 in 5 this year for doing it. But let's see, Mac Jones got 11 yards on Tennessee last time. And we saw Big Ben have a rushing touchdown, even though it was a sneak. So I think there is a viable option here at minus 110. Jimmy G, all he has to do is scramble. And we know Tennessee can put pressure on the quarterback. Jimmy G doesn't do it a lot, but over 3.5 rushing yards, I think he can get it done.
All right, guys, let's move to Slate Approved Pick Time. What is your favorite bet this evening, Pearce?
San Francisco -3. I'm going to continue to say that Tennessee are frauds. San Francisco's playing well, covered in 5 of the last 6 of their last 8. Tennessee will be without 2 of their starting linemen on the left side. They were already allowing a 23% pressure rate against Jacksonville. They allowed a 40% pressure rate last week. They allowed a 27% pressure rate to Pittsburgh. Tannehill has had a bad quarterback rating in both those games, under 200 yards passing in both those games. And on the other side, San Francisco's pass rush has been absolutely on fire over the last 3 games. They've had multiple players in each of those games getting over 4 pressures on the quarterback. It's going to be a long day for Tannehill, and San Francisco will be able to take this one easily.
All right, Reid, favorite bet tonight?
Kyle Juszczyk, over 8.5 receiving yards. This guy has gone over 40 receiving yards in 4 games. He's a Pro Bowl fullback. We know he gets operated in this offense, or utilized, in this offense. And with Eli Mitchell out, he seems to be that guy to back up Jeff Wilson. And I know Hasty is healthy, and Juszczyk has gotten work when Hasty has been out, but he's hit his over receiving prop six times out of 10 this year. And two of his last 3, he said is over. So 8.5 just seems wildly low for a guy who's operating as one of the main pass catchers for Jimmy G.
All right, Geoff, favorite bet tonight?
Oh, I'm delivering some coal to the Dietrich family this holiday season. Tennessee Titans plus 140 money line. Titans since 2019, 11-5 after a loss. Straight up, their defense is underrated. And look, if you want a little bit of a long shot bet here, go to the player parlays on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Donta Foreman, 100+ rush yards and a touchdown, plus 1,300. Man, those are good odds. He went over 100 yards last week. He's running the ball really well.